Hi everyone, welcome to the webinar and workshop series conducted by TCS in lieu of the upcoming OCS exams happening in May 2025. My name is Nick and I'm the lead tutor and evaluator for TCS for OCS rather at TCS. So let's look at the session outcomes. First things first, I'm going to take you through the exam blueprint, thereby highlighting examiners' comments, which is essential for you to understand what's expected from you when conducting preparations in the upcoming 5 weeks. And also, I will share some tips which will enable you to develop a high level of confidence leading up to the examination. And at the very end, I will also share some tips which will enable you to manage your stress levels, especially when attempting mock exams. Because when attempting mocks, if you are capable of managing your stress levels, you will successfully manage your stress levels at your real examination. And before we get into the technicalities, let me quickly remind you of the upcoming workshops which we have scheduled for you. So next Sunday, we are conducting the workshop in lieu of your F1 syllabus. So in this workshop, I will be taking you through a mock exam and its suggested answer, thereby explaining how to tackle a question tied to your F1 syllabus. And we have already covered a question concerning the P1 syllabus in last week's webinar, in which I taught you answering and time management techniques. After teaching you these techniques, I highlighted how to implement them in a practical sense by taking you through one of our mock exams. And in that mock exam, I took you through a P1 related question, which was tied to variance analysis. So if you missed out on last week's important webinar, please go watch the recorded version, which can be accessed via our YouTube handle and via our student dashboard. So likewise, we will be conducting a workshop focused on your E1 syllabus as well after Easter, because we are skipping the Easter weekend, because I know that you won't be able to attend any session if we do it within this Easter weekend. So because of that, we have skipped it. So after the Easter weekend, on the 27th of Sunday, we are conducting a workshop focused on your E1 syllabus, again, taking you through a question tied to the E1 pillar. And in the final workshop, which happens 2 or 3 days before your exam, I will be sharing last minute tips with you to make sure that you walk into your exam with a high level of positivity, high level of confidence, believing in your skill set. If so, you will ace this OCS exam. So make sure to attend each of these free webinars and workshops which we conduct on a weekly basis, which is the best way to keep tabs about your performance. And if you have any questions or concerns, you can raise them during the Q&A sessions held within each of these upcoming workshops. So let's look at what the examiner has to tell us. Good answers require, if you are to develop good answers, it's essential that you adhere to these guidelines provided by the Cima examiner. So as per the Cima examiner, good answers require relevance to the requirement. So when you are developing answers, it is essential that you develop answers which are totally aligned with the requirement, which are totally aligned with the scenario presented in each and every section. So with this in mind, I mentioned the fact that last week when I was teaching you answering and time management techniques, I mentioned that you need to reiterate each requirement in your own words in a simpler manner, with the prime intention of gaining a clear understanding of what each requirement is all about. So at your exam, you will see 2 or 3 subtasks within each section, which thereby highlights your requirement. So you will see if there are 2 subtasks, you'd see 2 requirements. And if there are 3 subtasks, you'd see 3 requirements. So since you are working under a time pressured environment at your exam, it's essential that you do something to gain a clear understanding of what each requirement is all about, or what you're expected to achieve under each and every subtask. So with the intention of gaining a clear understanding of each requirement, as I mentioned in last week's webinar, you are supposed to reiterate each requirement in your own words in a simpler manner. And this will be helpful for you when it comes to developing your answer plans, because whilst developing the answer plan, you can always easily refer back to a simplified requirement and see whether you are developing an answer which is totally aligned with the requirement at hand. So first things first, you need to achieve relevance, thereby addressing the requirement at hand. So I've highlighted what you need to do to achieve the first bullet point. And the second point is the fact that when developing answers, you need to show to the examiner that you possess a good level of technical knowledge concerning all syllabus areas. So this is not what I am telling you. This is what the Cima examiner expects from you. The Cima examiner specifically mentioned within the exam blueprint the fact that you should be conversant with all syllabus areas, especially syllabus elements which are covered under your P1 and F1 syllabi, because this examination is a P1 and F1 heavy examination. So your technical knowledge is heavily tested. 85% of the questions are intended to test your theory knowledge, conceptual knowledge. So if you skip on certain theoretical elements or theoretical or conceptual topics, then chances of you passing decreases significantly. So in order to be fully prepared and in order to be in a position where you are not testing your luck at your exam, it's essential that you are conversant with how each syllabus area is tested at the exam. If so, then you need not worry about seeing a question which you did not practice when conducting your preparations at your real examination. So it's essential that you gain a good understanding of all syllabus areas. That is exactly why we have developed 6 mock exams with the prime intention of covering all syllabus areas, especially given the fact that this is a theory heavy examination. If you had gone through past exam variants or past papers, you would have seen 6 different variants being developed for each pre-scene. Why is the examiner developing 6 variants? Because the examiner intends to cover all syllabus areas. And if you are to cover all syllabus areas, you can't do it via just 3 or 4 mock exams. You have to, there's no other option but to develop 6 mock exams. So that's exactly why we at TCS, we have developed 6 mock exams as well. And via these 6 mock exams, you will get in touch with, or you'd be practicing. If you practice these 6 mock exams, you will be practicing 70 plus subtasks altogether. And this is enough and more practice for you to understand how each syllabus area is tested at your exam. And if you're conversant with how each syllabus area is tested when conducting your preparations, you will be extremely successful at your real examination. And also, just possessing theoretical knowledge or conceptual knowledge won't help you. You need to work on your application skills. So the examiner is trying to figure out whether you have learned your theories and at the same time, whether you have the capability of applying these theories, considering a practical situation faced by Halfpenny, your chosen company. So, for instance, you would have learned about variances or variance analysis. Let's assume you would have learned about sales variances. So if you are coming through the general route, you would have done your OTQ exams, and in the OTQ exams, you should possess the capability of calculating each type of sales variance. However, at this exam, you are not expected to do any calculations. All the facts and figures concerning sales variances will be shared with you. Your job is to evaluate each sales variance considering the information shared with you via each scenario. So it's essential that you work on your application skills, and the best way to significantly improve your application skills is to attempt the 6 mock exams which we have developed, because after attempting each mock exam, as per our study plan, which we explained in the first webinar, we mentioned the fact that you should conduct revision. Just attempting the 6 mocks won't help you. You need to invest some time to conduct revision. And when it comes to revision, it all comes down to redeveloping answer plans. So when you have redeveloped answer plans, I asked you in last week's webinar to compare your fresh answer plans to TCS's answer plans to further improve your understanding about how to structure answers, how to bring in theoretical concepts, thereby working on your application skills. So if you are to improve your application skills, it's essential that you focus on conducting revision, which is essentially redeveloping answer plans concerning each mock which you attempt. When you redevelop answer plans, this is when you are working on the logic of each answer, trying to figure out the structure behind each answer, and at the same time trying to fine tune your application skills. So the only way to improve your application skills is to redevelop answer plans after attempting each mock exam. So if you attempt the 6 mocks, you will cover the theory elements. And if you redevelop answer plans concerning the 6 mock exams, you will improve your application skills. And if you fulfill these 2 requirements, you will gain more than 100 marks easily at your examination. And the examiner expects you to develop well-structured answers. So the examiner considers well-structured answers to be good answers. So that is exactly why your answering technique is essential. You have to champion or master the answering technique, which we highlighted in last week's webinar. And in order to champion it, in order to master it, you need to keep practicing these techniques over and over across the 6 mock exams which we have developed. If you do so, you'd be extremely successful at your exam, because you'd know and you'd have experience in structuring answers appropriately or adhering to our answering technique. So we highlighted what an answer plan is in last week's webinar. So if you missed it, please go watch the recorded version. So I will quickly show you what a typical answer plan should look like. So, as per the answering technique which we taught in last week's webinar, before finalizing your answer in paragraph form, you are expected to develop something called an answer plan or an answer structure. This is when you are planning out your entire answer. So this is when you are structuring your answer. Why did I ask you to do it? Given the fact that the examiner wants you to structure your answers with the intention of planning out your answers. If you had planned out your answers, or if you invest some time to plan out your answers, then you can make sure that you bring in all theoretical knowledge, thereby fulfilling application requirements. You can make sure that your answers are totally aligned with the information presented in each scenario. You can also make sure that your answers are totally aligned with each requirement. So you are supposed to develop well-structured answers. So you can achieve this by sticking to our answering technique. And you have to, when looking at your final answer should be in paragraph form. And I mentioned in last week's webinar that you need to develop a paragraph per answer point. So let's assume in your answer plan concerning a certain subtask, there were 7 main points. So if there were 7 main points within your answer plan, focused on each main point in your final answer, which should be in paragraph form, there should be 7 different paragraphs. And under a certain subtask, let's assume you decided to include 5 main points. If so, in your final answer, you need to have 5 different paragraphs. So, all these things were taught in depth in last week's webinar. So go watch it if you missed out on it. And also, whenever you are presenting a certain argument, especially tied to KPI related questions, you are supposed to back it up with appropriate justifications. So when tackling KPI related questions, there's absolutely no point of just mentioning a certain KPI. Instead, you need to explain and justify your argument, thereby saying as to or explaining as to why you are suggesting a certain KPI, why it is relevant to the considered scenario, why it is relevant to your chosen company. Just mentioning a KPI won't gain you any marks, even if it is accurate. Instead, in order to gain full marks, you have to make sure that you come up with KPIs or recommend KPIs which are backed with appropriate justifications. So if you achieve all these things, if you develop relevant answers which are relevant to each requirement, if you show to the examiner that you possess the appropriate level of theory knowledge and application skills, if you structure your answers well, and if you provide your final answer in paragraph form, and whenever you are recommending something such as KPIs, if you back it up with appropriate justifications, you will gain extremely good marks at your real examination. So I've explained how to achieve all these things in last week's webinar. So please watch it if you are yet to do so. And before the exam, what are you supposed to do as per the Cima examiner? You are supposed to study all areas of the syllabus. So this is what I explained earlier as well. When conducting preparations, I've dealt with students who think that you can pass the exam simply by attempting 2 or 3 mock exams. However, within 2 or 3 mocks, we cannot cover all syllabus areas, especially given the fact that this is a theory-heavy examination. So it is essential that you attempt 6 mock exams which are intended to cover all syllabus areas. For instance, I've dealt with students who, when they're faced with a theoretical concept which they are not too comfortable with, there's a tendency for them to disregard such theoretical elements and conduct preparations. For instance, there could be a question, or you might be struggling a bit with a question to do with linear programming because there's a graph which you need to explain. Most students find it extremely hard to explain linear programming graphs. And most students struggle with break-even point evaluations, again, given the fact that there are graphs shared with you and you are supposed to explain a break-even, multi-product break-even point graph. And also, some students, struggle with decision trees because you are supposed to explain the decision tree. So, these are highly technical elements. So because of that, if you don't possess a good understanding of it, students will not gain good marks. So if you are struggling with these elements, which I mentioned a while back, there's a tendency for you to leave them or disregard them when conducting preparations. You'll think, okay, I don't need to really work on linear programming graphs because I can score marks considering all the, or if I'm successful when addressing all the other questions. So likewise, you'd leave out certain syllabus elements when conducting your preparations. But at your exam, if a linear programming graph related question is thrown at you, or a multi-product break-even graph related question, or a decision tree related question is thrown at you, the weightage will be 60 to 70%. And if you struggle with such a question, or if you're clueless of how to tackle such a question, you end up losing out a chunk of your marks. And this in turn will raise doubts in your mind about passing this examination, especially when you are operating in a time pressured environment. If you're exposed to a linear programming related graph, and if you are clueless of how to tackle such a question, when you see that the weightage is 60 to 70%, you will know for a fact that you are losing out a lot of marks. This leads to extreme levels of stress, and this in turn will lead to a situation where you will struggle a lot because you are under pressure, you are experiencing extreme levels of stress, and you know for a fact that you are going to lose a lot of marks. So in order to avoid all these pitfalls and unnecessary issues, I want you to be conversant with how each syllabus area is tested at the exam by attempting the 6 mocks. If you do so, you will not struggle with any syllabus element or theoretical concept which is tested at your real examination. So I'm not saying this, the examiner is asking you to study all syllabus elements. It's essential that you do so. Give me a second, please. Okay, sorry about that. So it's essential that you study all areas of the syllabus. So with the intention of achieving this, you are supposed to attempt 6 mock exams, which we have developed to make sure that you are conversant with how all syllabus areas are tested at your examination. And also, before the exam, you have to work on your application skills, as I mentioned earlier. So this is why you need to conduct revision, thereby redeveloping answer plans with the prime intention of improving your application skills. And when it comes to attempting mock exams, the examiner expects you to practice tasks. So just going through the mock exams and the suggested answers won't help you. Just reading through the questions and answers won't help you. Instead, you need to practice tasks, practice and see how you fare under exam conditions, whether you have learned something, whether you possess the appropriate level of theoretical knowledge and application skills. In order to understand these things, you need to practice tasks under exam conditions. And when it comes to practicing tasks, the examiner wants you to type or write full answers. What are full answers? At your exam, you will have to sit in one place across 3 hours and attempt 4 sections. And when conducting your preparations, you need to stick to the same methodology in which you attempt 4 sections in total. So when attempting mock exams, I've dealt with students who attempt section 1 of a mock exam today, section 2 tomorrow, section 3 day after tomorrow, and likewise. But at your exam, that is not the case. You have to attempt all 4 sections, one after the other, across 3 hours, which is not easy. If you had already attempted any mock exam under exam conditions, you know what I'm talking about. You will be comfortable in your first 2 sections because you won't be exposed to fatigue. But from section 3 onwards, due to fatigue, you will tend to experience something called brain freeze. So brain freeze is a situation where you are trying to think, but nothing comes into your head. You cannot function properly. Why does this happen? Because given the fact that you are experiencing fatigue after 1.5 hours, when you're done with the first 2 sections, you are done with 1.5 hours of 2 45-minute slots, and you have 1.5 hours more remaining at your exam. And when you try to fight a stressful situation under a time pressured environment, definitely you would be exposed to further levels of stress. So in order to avoid all these stressful situations, it's essential that you face these stressors when conducting your preparations rather than at your real exam. That is exactly why we are urging you to attempt mock exams, each mock exam under exam conditions, so that you are exposed to exam situations, you are exposed to the type of stresses you'd see when operating in a time pressured environment. I want you to panic when conducting your preparations, because if so, you won't panic at your real exam. I want you to go wrong when attempting your mock exams. If so, you won't go wrong at your real exam. I want you to run out of time when attempting your mock exams, because then you will manage your time successfully at your real exam. So it's essential that you are exposed to all types of difficulties and issues when conducting your preparations, so that you, through that experience, you can take steps towards avoiding these issues at your real examination. So that is exactly why the examiner wants you to practice tasks, thereby typing or writing full answers. So even if you have access to the 6 mock exams which we have developed, attempting it on a section by section basis, thereby taking breaks between sections, won't help you. Or just reading the questions and the suggested answers won't help you. Instead, you have to, it is essential that you practice each mock exam under exam conditions. That is exactly why we have developed an exam platform, which is the exact replica of the Pearson VU system on which you attempt your real examination. We try to make sure that our students are fully prepared before walking into the exam. That is why we have invested a lot of money to develop an exam platform, which is the exact replica of the Pearson system on which you attempt your real examination. So when attempting each mock exam, do it via our exam platform. Then you are forced to be exposed to, or you are forced to attempt each exam under exam conditions. If so, you would be exposed to issues and problems. It's good to be exposed to these issues and problems when conducting your preparations rather than at your real examination. So that's what you're supposed to achieve before the exam as per the Cima examiner. And during the exam, what are you expected to do? You are supposed to plan your answers. So this is where the answering technique comes into play. This is why you need to master the answering technique, which we taught in last week's webinar. So before finalizing your answer in paragraph form, you need to develop something like this, an answer plan within 20 minutes focused on each section. So I explained the time management plan aligned with the answering technique in last week's webinar. So as per what I explained, before finalizing your answer in paragraph form, you should develop something called an answer plan or an answer structure, thereby investing a considerable amount of time to structure your answer, to plan your answer. Because if you plan your answer, if you structure your answer, if you intend to check whether your answers are aligned with the requirement, you will end up developing good answers, and good answers will get you a good score. So it's essential that you plan your answers. So just knowing these answering and time management techniques won't help. You have to keep practicing these techniques in order to master them. If so, you'd be successful at your exam. You will never run out of time. and you will develop well-structured answers. And I said that after attempting each mock exam under exam conditions, you are supposed to redevelop answer plans, thereby trying to improve your application skills, answer structuring skills, and this will be additional practice for you, which will help you to plan your answers successfully at your real exam. And the marker is under strict instructions to mark answers on their merit. So the examiner is not going to look at, or the marker rather, is not going to look at the length of your answer. I've seen tutors out there saying to gain X amount of marks, you need to come up with X amount of words. However, as I mentioned earlier, in the first 3 webinars, the examiner is trying to replicate a real life corporate environment. So it's as if you are, receiving an email from your boss, and at office, when you are responding to an email which you receive from your boss, will you ever think in terms of the word count, or will you try to, develop a response which is totally aligned with your boss's requirement, which is aligned with the information which appears within the email? And also think about what your boss is going to look at when going through your response. Is the boss going to look at the word count of your response or the content? The boss is going to look at the content of your response. So similarly, at your exam, after you have completed your exam, when it comes to marking, the marker is going to look at the quality of your answer, not the quantity. That is exactly why you need to master the answering technique, because when developing an answer plan, when planning out your answer, your prime intention is to focus on how to develop an answer which is totally aligned with each requirement, how to develop an answer which is aligned with the scenarios information, how to develop an answer which is developed considering what you have learned under your E1, F1, and P1 syllabi. And when you fulfill these 3 requirements, you are taking steps towards developing high quality answers. So it's essential that you master your answering technique. If so, you will gain extremely good marks, because the marker is looking at quality, not quantity. So these are the things which you need to achieve. And I hope you will listen to the Cima examiner and stick to the guidance which we have provided so far. And in the upcoming 5 weeks, you have enough time to attempt all 6 mock exams and also conduct revision. I hope you'd adhere to these guidance in the upcoming 5 weeks to be extremely successful in your upcoming OCS exam. And looking at the marking criteria, mark allocation for each subtask appears as a percentage under each requirement. And based on this percentage, you are supposed to determine how many points are dedicated towards each subtask. When you know the number of points dedicated for each subtask, then based on it, you can determine how many points you need to include within each subtask, because each valid point carries 2 or 3 marks. So based on it, you can easily determine how many points you need to include under each subtask. I explained all these things, the technique pertaining to developing answers which are totally aligned with mark allocations in last week's webinar. So please go watch the recorded version if you missed it. And as I mentioned earlier, always remember the marker is looking at the quality, not the quantity of your answer. So that's exactly why it's essential that you master your answer plans, you develop high quality answer plans. If so, you are effectively taking steps to increase the quality of your answers. All right. So having said that, before we move on to the second part of today's webinar, let me quickly mention what we offer at TCS. So I'm on the OCS page. If you are yet to create a free user account, click on this button and do so. Because via this free user account, you will gain access to the recorded versions of the webinars and workshops which we conduct on a weekly basis. You will gain access to the first mock exam, OCS Mock 1, its suggested answer and the answer plan. Also, you have the ability to attempt OCS Mock 1 in its entirety under exam conditions via our exam platform, because as I mentioned earlier, we have developed an exam platform which is akin to the Pearson VUE system, with the intention of making sure that you are exposed to exam stresses, exam related problems. So make use of all these free resources on offer by creating a free user account by clicking on this button. Also, if you are interested in investing on our paid content, click on this button and check the sample material before you do so. And I invite you to join our OCS WhatsApp discussion forum. Click on this button and join it via this forum. We will keep you guys informed of the commencement dates and times of weekly webinars and workshops. And at the same time, if you have any questions, you can raise them. I'm always there to address them. Also, we will be sharing a lot of free resources via the WhatsApp group. So please join it by clicking on this button. And talking about what we offer two packages, the essential course and the value course. The essential course is designed for those who are coming through the Cima general route. If you're such a student, you have already completed your E1, F1, and P1, OTQs, and therefore you have a good understanding about all the theoretical concepts covered within the entire syllabus. So if you are coming through the general route, you simply need to work on your application skills. So that is why just attempting 3 mocks will help you. So although I mentioned that it's essential that you attempt 6 mock exams to cover all syllabus areas, since you have already learned theory under the OTQ syllabus elements, you simply need to improve your application skills. So just attempting 3 mocks will help you. So the essential course comes with the recordings of all webinars and workshops, 3 mock exams with suggested answers, 4 pre-scene analysis videos. You need not try and decrypt pre-scene information. We have done it for you via these 4 videos. You'd also get your hands on the annotated pre-scene, industry analysis, and financial analysis slides. So let me quickly show you what I'm talking about. So, this is the annotated pre-scene which we have developed for this time's pre-scene. As you can see, in addition to the information presented in your pre-scene, we have come up with tutor annotations with the intention of summarizing the entire pre-scene so that it makes your life easy when it comes to understanding the most important points highlighted within your pre-scene document. And at the same time, tied to all this information, we have mentioned the probable exam scenarios which can be thrown at you. And tied to these probable exam scenarios, we have highlighted the syllabus areas which can be tested. And we have made sure to cover all these elements when developing the mock exams. And talking about the industry analysis slides, it is divided into 4 main parts. In the first part, we have defined your industry. In the second part, we have explained about the competitive landscape. In the third part, we have explained about industry trends. And based on these industry trends, scenarios will be thrown at you at your real exam. And at the very end, we have considered 2 real-life companies, thereby further explaining what real-life companies go through within your chosen industry. And looking at the financial analysis slides, you would have seen your financial statements at the very end of your pre-scene. We have evaluated each financial statement in depth, yet making sure to keep things simple so that you can easily understand about the financial standing of your company. So we have evaluated the SOPL, the SOFP, as well as the statement of changes in equity, statement of cash flows rather. And at the very end, we have conducted a ratio analysis, again, evaluating each ratio in depth, yet making sure to keep it simple so that you can gain a better understanding of the financial situation of your chosen company. So all these resources are included within the essential course. You'd also gain access to the top 10 likely issue slides, which indicate the most prominent syllabus areas as well as scenarios which can be tested at your exam. You will also gain access to the case study familiarization kit. Once you have read this kit, within 10 to 15 minutes, you will gain an in-depth understanding of the technicalities behind your OCS exam. You will also gain access to a tutor-managed live chat if you opt for the essential course. So the essential course is priced at £199. And talking about the value course, this is designed for students who are coming through the exemption route, such as FLP, and those who had failed the OCS exam previously. Both these 2 types of students have the same problem. There are issues with theory knowledge and issues with application. So with the intention of making sure that you cover all syllabus areas, with the intention of making sure that you have the capability of improving your application skills, we have included some additional resources under the value course. So on top of what you'd gain access to under the essential course, You'd also gain access to OTQ revision cards. So if you have knowledge gaps concerning theories after attempting each mock exam, if you feel that you were struggling with a certain theoretical element, you need not spend a lot of time to conduct your own revision based on your past notes, your bulky study texts and whatnot. We have summarized all the theoretical concepts via the OTQ revision cards. Simply go through them in a jiffy. You are in a position to understand all the theoretical elements easily. And also you'd have access to the online mock exam platform on which you can attempt all 6 mock exams under exam conditions, which is the best way to master your answering, time management, and stress management techniques. And you'd also gain access to answer plans of all 6 mock exams. I showed you what answer plans, our answer plans look like. So on top of the mock exams and the suggested answers, we are also sharing answer plans with you, which are intended to make sure that you gain a good understanding of what to do with regards to improving application. So this is the best resource out there to improve your application skills, because by looking at these answer plans or answer structures, you can easily understand the logic behind each answer. You can easily understand the theoretical concepts which are applied when developing each answer. Also, you can easily understand how to bring in relevant pre-seen information with the intention of enhancing the quality of each answer. And also, this helps you when it comes to revision, because as I mentioned earlier, it's essential that you redevelop answer plans after attempting each mock exam. So when it comes to redeveloping answer plans, after you have redeveloped your answer plans after attempting each mock exam, compare your fresh answer plans to TCS's answer plans to gain a further understanding of whether you are going wrong. You can easily understand what your shortcomings are. And at the same time, this is the best way to practice your application skills, which is essential to pass this examination. All right, so these are the type of resources on offer under the premium course, and the price of the premium course is £399, which can be paid in 2 installments of 199 each across 2 months, or you can opt to pay in full. If so, you will save £100 and the price will be just £299. So you can invest on your preferred course by clicking on either of these buttons. And all products are available until the 30th of August 2025. So if you're planning on sitting for the OCS exams, which are happening in August, you can invest on your preferred package and start preparations now itself, so that you'd have ample time to attempt all 6 mock exams and conduct your revision focused on the same 6 mock exams. And let me quickly take you to the OCS study plan to highlight what you need to achieve within this week. So we are in week number 4 as per our study plan. And within this week, you are supposed to dedicate just 9 hours of study time. And in this week, you are supposed to attempt mock number 3 via the exam platform. After attempting mock number 3, I said that you should revise your knowledge. You should revise your application skills. With this in mind, you are supposed to redevelop answer plans concerning mock number 3. After you had redeveloped your answer plans, compare your fresh answer plans to TCSs to further enhance your application skills. So if you are yet to start preparations, you still have time, because some of you had already attempted the first 2 mock exams as per our study plan. Some of you are yet to start. Still, you have enough and more time if you dedicate yourself right now, rather than waiting until the last 2 or 3 weeks. You will have enough time to attempt all 6 mock exams and complete revision, which is to redevelop answer plans. Because if you wait until the last 2 weeks, you will have time to attempt the 6 mocks, but you won't have time to conduct revision. So it's essential that you stick to this plan. If you're yet to start, if you're planning on sitting for exams happening in May, you still have time. You have 5 weeks at your disposal, which is enough and more time if you commit yourself. So start right now. Don't wait until the last moment, because if you do so, you'd be exposed to extreme levels of stress, which is not going to help you at your exam. And at the same time, you won't have time to conduct revision, which is essential in order to pass your exam comfortably. So that's what we offer. Having said that, let's move on to the second part of today's webinar. So I'm going to highlight what you need to do to develop a high level of confidence in the upcoming 5 weeks, because when you are getting closer to the exam, you will be exposed to intense levels of stress. You will feel butterflies in your stomach. You will always feel that you are not prepared enough. So it's essential that you stick to these guidance in the upcoming 5 weeks. If you do so, you will never feel stressed at your real examination. So first things first, you have to stick to the study plan. I've explained the study plan in depth in the first webinar. And also a while back, I mentioned the fact that it's simply a matter of attempting the 6 mock exams and redeveloping answer plans across 5 weeks. You can easily get it done, and you can access the study plan via our website as well. So if you stick to the study plan, that's the first step towards developing your confidence. Because when you know that you have attempted mocks covering all syllabus areas, when you know that you have conducted your revision appropriately, you won't feel negative. You will feel that, okay, I'm fully ready. I will take up this challenge, and you will face this challenge with a positive mindset. However, if you have attempted just 1 or 2 mock exams, and if you have not conducted revision, if you have not practiced your answering technique, you will definitely struggle before the exam. Before walking into the exam, you will tend to go through mock exams and whatnot, because if you had done your OCS exams previously, you know what I'm talking about. If you did your exam at an examination center, you would have seen almost all the students going through mock exams or going through suggested answers, going through their study texts, their study notes and whatnot, right before walking into the exam. Why are they doing it? Why are they, unnecessarily creating a stressful environment? Why are they exposed to extreme levels of pressure, given the fact that they have not done their job properly when conducting preparations? So it's essential that you start right now, so that you can relax at your examination when all the other students are scrambling for time. That is exactly why right before walking into the exam, they tend to go through study notes, study texts and whatnot. So I don't want you to go through that, because as I mentioned earlier, the examiner is trying to replicate a real life corporate environment. So if you are to function properly in the most successful manner in a real life corporate environment, it's essential that you are calm and composed both mentally and physically. So you have to be well rested before the exam, rather than going through mock exams right before walking into the exam hall. So all the others will be exposed to a lot of stress. I don't want you to be exposed to such a situation. Instead, I want you to walk into the exam with a relaxed mind, because it's as if you are walking in, it should be as if you are walking into office on a Monday. If you are to function properly on a Monday, you have to be well rested during the weekend. If you are up till late during the weekend, if you are exposed to extreme levels of stress, if you didn't receive proper sleep, because if you are stressed, you won't have the capability to sleep, because you are afraid to face the next day. So if you are under undue levels of stress during the weekend, you will fall asleep at office on a Monday. You won't have the capability to function properly on a Monday. So you should see your exam as you should view your exam in a similar way. It's as if you are walking into office on a Monday. So it's essential that you are well rested. So in order to achieve this type of a mindset, stick to our study plan. And also it's essential that you stick to a routine at least in the upcoming 5 weeks. I don't know whether you usually stick to a routine. Most of us don't, which is really bad, if I'm being honest with you. Even I try to stick to a routine, but sometimes I don't. Although this is the case, in order to function properly in a highly competitive exam such as the OCS exam, at least focus on the upcoming 5 weeks. Try to stick to a routine. So it's essential that you wake up and sleep at predetermined times. And if you're finding it hard to wake up and sleep at predetermined times, work on your daily meal intake. Have your breakfast, lunch, and dinner at predetermined times on a daily basis. If you do so, you will fall asleep at a predetermined time, and you will have the capability of waking up at a predetermined time. So it's essential that you stick to a routine in the upcoming 5 weeks. And because this will help you both mentally and physically. It's essential that you control your brain functions. Make sure that your brain is um, functioning properly. So in order to make sure that your brain functions properly, you have to stick to a routine. You have to sleep properly. You have to sleep at a certain time and wake up at a certain time. You have to eat at predetermined times. If so, you can avoid unnecessary stresses which are created due to you experiencing fatigue or unnecessarily stressful situations. So try to stick to a routine in the upcoming 5 weeks. And when it comes to practicing mock exams, always make sure to practice under simulated exam conditions, because this is what the examiner expects from you as well, as per the comments which I shared with you a while back. So it's good to use our mock exam platform. I said that we have developed an exam platform which is the exact replica of the Pearson VUE system, which actually forces you to operate under exam situations. It's good to operate, when attempting your mock exams, it's good to be exposed to exam stresses or operate in a time pressured environment, because your experience when it comes to your experience, when it comes to dealing in a time pressured environment, will help you to overcome stressful situations at your real exam. Or else, if you are exposed to exam stresses for the first time at your exam, you will definitely run out of time. If you run out of time, you won't get good marks at your examination. And when attempting mocks, attempt them in isolation, just like in your real exam. You might have kids. Lock your door, keep them out. And I know if you have real small kids, when you are home, they'd always tend to spend time with you. However, when conducting your preparations, when attempting mock exams, get into a room, close the door, lock them out, sit in one place for 3 hours at a stretch, and attempt one full mock exam under exam conditions on a weekly basis. And when doing so, when practicing each mock exam, stick to the exam technique routine, which I explained in depth in last week's webinar. You need to allocate 5 minutes to read through the entire scenario and the reference material concerning each section. Then you should dedicate 20 minutes of your time to develop something called an answer plan. You have to make sure that you develop an answer which is well structured and aligned with each requirement. You should show to the examiner that you have learned your theories and you know how to apply your theoretical knowledge. So all these things are tackled when you are developing the answer plan, which should be done within 20 minutes. And once you have an answer plan at your disposal, utilizing the remaining time, which is 20 minutes, you are supposed to expand the answer plan in paragraph form, thereby developing a paragraph per answer point. So although you know this technique, you won't have the capability of developing an answer plan within 20 minutes. You won't have the capability of expanding the answer plan in paragraph form in 20 minutes unless and otherwise you practice. So it's essential that you practice this answering and time management technique across the 6 mock exams which we have developed, because in each mock exam, just like in your real exam, there are 4 sections. So 4 sections into 6 mocks come up to 24 sections in total. And once you have practiced this answering technique 24 times, then you can manage your time properly. You will definitely have the capability to develop answer plans within 20 minutes at your real exam, and then expand the answer plan within just 20 minutes in paragraph form. So it's essential that you practice this technique, which is the only way to develop your confidence. Because if you practice this technique, you will struggle a lot when you are attempting mock number 1. So would you struggle when attempting mock 2 as well. But from mock 3 onwards, you will see a significant improvement. When attempting mock exam 1, although I'm asking you to develop an answer plan taking up 20 minutes of your time, you will definitely take something like 40 minutes. And when you're attempting mock number 2, you will take 35 minutes. But from mock 3 onwards, you will take something like 20 to 25 minutes to develop the answer plan. This will build your confidence, because you know for a fact that you struggled in mock number 1, you took 40 minutes, but now you have the capability. When you know for a fact that you have the capability to develop the answer plan within 20 to 25 minutes, you will feel good about yourself. You for yourself will see an improvement. You will know that you are headed in the correct direction. This will motivate you to attempt the three remaining mock exams, mocks 4, 5, and 6 under exam conditions as well. And once you keep practicing this technique over and over across the last 3 mock exams, by the time you are attempting mocks 5 and 6, you will definitely have the capability of developing answer plans within 20 minutes. This leads to extreme levels of confidence, and this is the type of confidence you need to be successful at your real exam, because the Cima examiner is very particular about your confidence levels. If you believe in your skill set, if you believe that you have developed your skill set across a number of weeks, thereby conducting your preparations focused on your OCS exam, then you will succeed definitely. That's what the examiner is telling us. So in order to succeed, you need to develop a positive mindset. In order to develop a positive mindset, you need to do the hard yards when conducting preparations, which is to master your answering and time management techniques. So it's essential that you stick to these techniques when practicing mock exams, and it's essential that you stick to a study plan and stick to a routine. These are the only ways in which you can develop your confidence. And finally, I want to talk about how you should, or how you can manage your stress levels, especially when attempting mock exams. So the first step towards managing your stress levels is to be exposed to stressful situations. And you will be exposed to stressful situations when you are attempting each mock exam under exam conditions. That's the first step. So when operating under exam conditions, you will know that it's not easy. You have to sit in one place for 3 hours at a stretch, which in itself is not easy. And at the same time, you will be exposed to extreme levels of fatigue, because you can't function. If you look at our human brain, the human brain cannot function for more than 45 minutes at a stretch, unless and otherwise you have done some type of practice to improve your brain capabilities. Most human beings, 99.9% of human beings out there, they can't work for more than 45 minutes. They can't focus for more than 45 minutes. That is how our brains are developed. So our attention span is just for 45 minutes. However, at your exam, you have to sit in one place across 3 hours without taking a break, which will definitely lead you or expose you to fatigue, and fatigue leads to extreme levels of stress, and extreme levels of stress leads to brain freeze. Okay, so it's definitely it's a given that you are going to be exposed to a stressful situation when attempting your real exam. So that's why I'm saying that it's essential that you are exposed to such stressful situations when attempting mock exams, because when that is the case, you have taken some type of you have adhered to some type of a practice with the intention of managing your stress levels. You have at least been exposed to stressful situations before you walk into the exam, which is going to be essential. Because if you experience all these stresses for the first time at your exam, you will crumble under pressure, you will panic a lot, and definitely you will run out of time. And when this is the case, you'd have to keep repeating this exam over and over. So rather than doing so, you have to make up your mind to finish off this exam within this exam sitting itself. So this examination is developed with the intention of not just testing your theoretical knowledge and application skills. The examiner is also trying to figure out whether you have the capability of managing your stress levels, because as a management accountant, once you're done with this qualification, you will become a management accountant. As a management accountant, if you are to provide leadership to your colleagues, your subordinates, or people in other departments, then first things first, you should have the capability to manage stressful situations. Because if you are working, you know what I'm talking about. If you're running your own business, you know what I'm talking about. On a daily basis, you might be exposed to stressful situations, and if you crumble under pressure, you'd end up losing your job. If you crumble under pressure, you'd have to close down your business. So the objective of developing these type of examinations, which are based on a case study, is to test your knowledge under real life scenarios, to test whether you have the capability of managing stressful situations. If so, you will be a successful leader. You will successfully run your businesses and you will successfully operate within corporate environments, irrespective of the type of hiccups or problems you are going to face in the future. So the examiner intends to test your knowledge, your application skills, and at the same time, your stress management capabilities. That is why you are forced to sit in one place across 3 hours and be exposed to extreme levels of stress and operate under a time-pressured environment. So the first step towards managing stress levels is to understand that you will be exposed to stressful situations. That's why it's essential for you to attempt the 6 mock exams under exam conditions. That's why we have developed a replica of the Pearson VUE system, which gives you the opportunity to be exposed to exam stresses, which will help you to overcome these stresses and therefore be successful at your real exam. And the second step is to simply stick to the answering technique, because if you stick to this answering technique, you can clearly see rather than trying to multitask, you are tackling reading in the first 5 minutes, then in the next 20 minutes you are tackling planning, and in the last 20 minutes you are tackling typing, rather than trying to do all these three together. Most students out there, they don't have a good understanding of an answering technique. So because of that, what they do is, right after reading through the scenario, they rush through the scenario, thereby missing out on most important points, because you are panicking, you're operating under a stressful situation. So the tendency is to read through the scenario as fast as possible. So you read through the scenario, thereby gaining a partial understanding of all the information presented. And right after reading the scenario, most students start typing the final answer. So when you're halfway through the final answer, or when you have developed your answer in paragraph form without spending some time to plan, you start typing straight away. And when you're halfway through the answer, some students realize that the answer is not aligned with the requirement. And if that is the case, you'd end up deleting the entire answer and you'd have to start from scratch. When that happens, for a fact, your brain will constantly keep telling you, dude, you have wasted a lot of time, so speed things up. So you are panicking and you are trying to develop answers or type answers extremely fast. And when this is the case, you are forgetting about the quality of your answer. Instead, you are trying to do something, come up with some type of an answer with the intention of gaining some amount of marks. That should not be your objective. So rather than developing answers in a rush, rather than operating in stressful situations, rather than being exposed to extreme levels of fatigue, it's essential that you stick to our study plan. Then you are not trying to multitask, because if you, right after reading through the scenario, if you try to type your final answer, you are trying to plan as well as type at the same time. You can't multitask. If you are not stressed, if you're not operating in a time pressured environment, yes, you can multitask. However, when you're operating in a stressful situation, especially given the fact that your attention span is just for 45 minutes, yet you can't take a break. Because of that, when you're and when operating under a certain environment as such, when you try to rush the process, when you try to multitask, then you would be exposed to extreme levels of stress, and this leads to brain freeze. So in order to avoid all these issues, be calm and composed. And the only way to be calm and composed when operating in a time pressured environment is not to multitask, but to stick to this answering technique. If you do so, you are dedicating some time to read, then you are dedicating some time to plan. And once you have the answer plan at your disposal, you know what you should cover in your final answer. So typing becomes extremely easy, because when typing, you are not planning. So you are not essentially trying to multitask. So this is the best way to manage stressful situations. And even after sticking to this technique, especially towards sections 3 and 4, you will be exposed to some type of stress. Why is this the case? Because as I mentioned earlier, our brains are developed in a way that we are supposed to, our attention span is just for 45 minutes. So at office, if you are experiencing stress, you can always walk away from the stressful situation. You can, walk away from your cubicle. You can have a cup of coffee or tea. You can have a chat with your colleagues. You can take a break. If you are into smoking, you can smoke a cigarette. You can do all these things to rest your mind. But at the exam, you can't do so. So because of that, especially towards the last two sections, due to fatigue, you will be exposed to stressful situations, even if you stick to this answering technique. And when you encounter, additional stresses, even after sticking to this answering technique, you need to take steps to switch off your amygdala. What is this amygdala? Amygdala is a small part of our brain, which is depicted in blue in this image, which activates when you are exposed to extreme levels of stress. So at the exam, you are supposed to be involved with rational thinking or rational decision making. So when it comes to rational decision making, our brain is supposed to function. The prefrontal cortex, or the front part of our brain, is supposed to function. So if you are to be rational, you have to think through the prefrontal cortex, or the front part of your brain. However, every 45 minutes, there's a tendency for the prefrontal cortex to switch off. When it switches off, brain functions are shifted to the amygdala. And when brain functions are shifted to the amygdala, it exposes you to a fight or flight response. A fight response is a situation where you are trying to fight a stressful situation. A flight response is a situation where the brain asks you to get out of a stressful situation. So at office, if you're exposed to stress, when your amygdala is in play, you can get out of a stressful situation. You can walk off your cubicle. You can have a chat with your friends. You can take a break. But at the exam, you can't do so. So the only other option is to fight the stressful situation. So when you are trying to fight the stressful situation, without knowing what to do, without knowing how to manage your stresses, it leads to extreme levels of stress, and extreme levels of stress leads to something called brain freeze. Brain freeze is a situation where you are trying to come up with an answer, but nothing comes into your head. You are trying to type, but your fingers are not working. You are sweating profusely. You want to move, but you can't move. So all these type of issues, you'd face all these. You'd become extremely emotional as well. Some of you might actually cry at your exam when you are exposed to brain freeze. Some of you might become extremely angry. All these things happen due to the amygdala being active. So even after sticking to this answering technique, if you feel that still you are exposed to stressful situations due to fatigue, due to the fact that you can't take a break every 45 minutes at your real exam, you need to know what leads to these stressful situations. That's your amygdala. So you need to take steps to switch off your amygdala. So it's quite easy. Most people out there, they don't know how to do this, but now you know. You have to take steps to switch off your amygdala. And how can you switch off your amygdala? Simply by closing your eyes and breathing slowly for 2 minutes. You need to take deep breaths for 2 minutes. And when taking these deep breaths, inhale through your nose and exhale from your mouth. When inhaling from your nose, count to 3 slowly. And when exhaling from your mouth, count to 3 slowly. Focus on your counts, focus on your breaths. That's the only way to switch off the amygdala and make sure that your brain functions are shifted back to your prefrontal cortex. So there's absolutely no point of trying to fight a stressful situation without knowing how to fight it. So now you know the only way to fight a stressful situation is to switch off your amygdala. And the only way to switch off your amygdala is to focus on your breathing. So when attempting each mock exam, I want you to, whenever you are exposed to stressful situations, I want you to practice this because, again, just like the answering and time management technique, you can master this only via practice. I implement this in my daily life as well. So if I'm supposed to do something challenging, before facing such a situation, I sit in one place, close my eyes, focus on my breathing. I inhale through my nose, exhale from my mouth. When inhaling, I count to 3 slowly for 2 minutes. And when I do the entire practice within 2 minutes. When inhaling, I count to 3 slowly. And when exhaling, I count to 3 slowly. I do this continuously across 2 minutes. This ensures that I'm calm and composed. All my senses are relaxed. I'm not exposed to unnecessary fatigue or stress. Instead, I've taken steps to make sure I've switched off my amygdala and my prefrontal cortex is working. So this is the only thing which you can do to overcome a stressful situation. So that's exactly why it's essential that you attempt each mock exam under exam conditions so that you are exposed to stressful situations. And when you're exposed to stressors, stick to this practice. And when you do so across the 6 mock exams, that's enough practice for you to manage your stressors at your real examination. And usually students who practice this, well, after learning from us, what they say is there's a tendency for them to do this before starting each section. So for a fact that your timer starts running from counting down from 45 minutes when you start each section. So you might think that I'm stupid to ask you to waste 2 minutes of your time. So yes, you will be wasting 2 minutes of your time if you focus on your breathing for the first 2 minutes before starting each section. However, it's best to reset your brain, refresh your brain before you face a new challenge. So let's assume you are done with section number 1. Before starting with section number 2, don't look at the clock, close your eyes, focus on your breathing, inhale through your nose, exhale from your mouth, count slowly to 3 when inhaling and count slowly to 3 when exhaling. Do it for about 2 minutes, refresh your brain and start reading through the scenario. And once you're done with section number 2, do the same before reading through the scenario concerning section number 3. So when you are doing this, as I mentioned earlier, our attention span of the human brain is just there for 45 minutes. So when you do this before each section, you are essentially taking a break, thereby making sure that you are resetting your attention span again before going through another section. So stick to this process, practice this. Even if you don't invest on our mock exams, even if you had invested on one of our competitors' mock exams, attempt each mock under exam conditions, practice this answering technique, time management technique, and stress management techniques. If you do so, you will avoid all stressors at your exam. You will walk into the exam with a high level of confidence. You will believe in yourself because you know for a fact that you have mastered answering time management and stress management when conducting your preparations. This confidence itself will help you at your real examination. Also, you can calm your nerves whenever you are exposed to a stressful situation. You can calm your nerves by drinking some water. However, if you are attempting the exam at home, you can't do so. And in certain examination centers, the invigilators won't let you take a water bottle. So if that is the case, you can't take these steps. So the best way to get out of a stressful situation is to switch off your amygdala. In order to do so, focus on your breathing, get out of it, keep moving forward. All right, so that's what you're supposed to practice when practicing your mock exams in the upcoming 5 weeks, and avoid all these deflections in the upcoming 5 weeks. Don't rely on predictions because any area can be tested. I've seen tutors out there saying that certain theoretical concepts will not be tested at the exam, which is bullshit. You should listen to the Cima examiner. The Cima examiner particularly is very particular about this. The Cima examiner says that you have to be conversant with all syllabus areas. That's what I highlighted at the inception of today's webinar. And also, the examiner tries to replicate a real-life corporate environment. In a real-life corporate environment, you cannot, even if you are the CEO of the company, you cannot predict what the company is going to face tomorrow, what type of opportunities we will be exposed to, and what type of issues we might have to handle. You don't know all these things, so you can't predict anything in a real life corporate environment. So in this exam, don't try to predict the type of scenarios which will be thrown at you. Instead, your job should be to be conversant with all syllabus areas, know how these syllabus areas can be tested, and know how to tackle each syllabus area, thereby mastering your answering technique. And excessive industry analysis is a problem. Don't waste time. You just have 5 weeks. Simply stick to our study plan. Simply focus on the 6 mocks and revise based on the 6 mocks, thereby redeveloping answer plans. Because at this stage, you are playing the role of finance officer who is located at the operational level or the lowest level of the organization. You are not involved with decision making. Instead, you are assisting decision makers. So there's absolutely no point of you trying to understand what happens within your industry, because your role has nothing to do with decision making. So as an individual who is assisting decision makers, you should know about what happens within your company. There's absolutely no point of trying to understand what happens within your industry. And misguided use of past papers is a problem as well. When conducting preparations, some students think that they can rely on past exam variants, which is not the case, because past exam variants are based on different pre-seen documents. So the internal dynamics of Halfpenny will be totally different to the internal dynamics of back office last time's pre-seen or some other pre-seen which came out previously. So there's absolutely no point of trying to pass this exam relying on past papers, because these past papers, the questions, the type of questions, and at the same time, the logic of each suggested answer is totally aligned with a different pre-seen. Unless and otherwise you analyze a previous pre-seen in depth, you will not gain a good understanding of the logic behind each answer, which appears within past exam variants. So rather than wasting time, because if you have to really understand the logic of each answer, as I mentioned earlier, you need to go through each pre-seen in depth, gain a good understanding of each pre-seen. And if you try to do so, you'd end up wasting a lot of time. So rather than wasting time, you just have 5 weeks, stick to the process, stick to the 6 mocks, and focus your attention towards redeveloping answer plans. Don't do anything else. And information overload is a killer as well. You should avoid this deflection, because I know for a fact, especially towards the last 2 weeks, even if you had completed the 6 mock exams, and even if you're sticking to our study plan, even if you have taken steps to improve your answering time management and stress management techniques, you will feel that you have not done enough. As a student, I felt it as well. I was involved with self-studies as a student when it comes to Cima. So because of that, I didn't have any type of direction. I had to come up with my own ways. And because of that, I had to stick to a study plan. I was forced to stick to a study plan. So I always stuck to a study plan. Even after sticking to a study plan, even after completing all the work, I always felt that I've not done enough. So there's a tendency for me to go through study texts, my short notes and whatnot once more, trying to reattempt all mock exams once more, which exposed me to unnecessary stressful situations. So I avoided doing this. After I was in the management level, from management level onwards, I changed my strategy. I was like, okay, I usually stick to the study plan, and if I've fulfilled everything according to the study plan, I started relaxing closer to the exam, and I got better results. So information overload is a real problem. I've experienced it, so I want you to avoid it. That's exactly why we are sharing these answer plans with you. No one else is sharing these answer plans. Why? Because I don't want you guys to waste time read through pages and pages of suggested answers and try to figure out the logic behind each answer, which is not too easy. Instead, if you read through these answer plans or answer points, you can easily understand how to structure your answers, what should be covered concerning each syllabus area. So that's exactly why, in order to avoid a situation where you are overloaded with information, we have gotten rid of all unnecessary elements from your study process. We have tackled everything from our end. Your job is to simply attempt a mock exam and redevelop answer plans on a weekly basis. If you do so, you will be successful at your real exam. And overemphasis on the exam blueprint or trying to read through the entire exam blueprint won't help you, because when conducting this webinar series, when conducting these 4 webinars, we have made sure to cover all elements of the entire exam blueprint. So you need not spend time or waste time to try and understand it. The examiner's comments, which I highlighted, were taken from the exam blueprint as well. So there's no point of you trying to go through it once more, because it will confuse you. You don't have much time. Instead, focus your attention towards improving your skill set. So avoid all these deflections, especially in the upcoming 5 weeks. And if you are attempting the exam at home, please go to this link. I will share this link via the WhatsApp group, and check how the exam platform works, the Pearson VUE system works, so that you get your bearings with it. And at the same time, if you invest on the value course, you will gain access to our exam platform. So you won't struggle with the Pearson's exam platform, because the technicalities are exactly the same when you look at TCS's exam platform. And those who stuck to our study plan passed with flying colors last time. So we are happy to say that we achieved a 96% pass rate, yet again, keeping our pass rate above 90% concerning the February 2025 sitting. And this student gained 98 marks. This student attempted the OCS exam, coming through the FLP route, attempted the OCS exam twice previously, not with us, with other providers, but 3 weeks before the exam got in touch with us, utilized our material, stuck to our plan, which was to attempt the 6 mocks and redevelop answer plans, and easily ended up scoring 98 marks. So you can achieve a similar feat if you start right now. So if this student can achieve 98 marks by conducting preparations just 3 weeks before the exam, you can definitely gain better marks if you start right now, because you have 2 additional weeks at your disposal. Having said that, it brings us to the Q&A. So if you have any questions, you can switch on your mic and talk, or drop a message via the chat. I'm going to pause the recording. All right, folks. So thank you very much for those questions. I hope I addressed everything. And if you want to contact us, you can do it via our website, which is www.studyatTCS.com. Go to our website and click on the contact button and drop your message here. Our admin staff will get in touch with you via email during office hours. And you can directly email us at info@studyatTCS.com, or WhatsApp us on this number. You can also follow us on our social media handles, especially YouTube and TikTok, because the recorded versions of the weekly webinars and workshops will be uploaded to our YouTube handle. Also, via TikTok, you will gain access to 6 videos, which is a good pre-seen mind map. So keep watching these 6 videos over and over in the upcoming 5 weeks in order to make sure that you keep reminding yourself about what appears within your pre-seen document. So you need not do anything else to remember the most important information which appears within your pre-seen. Also, I invite you to go to our blog page and read the blog post focused on your company, Halfpenny, to gain a clearer understanding of what happens within your company and its industry. And having said that, it brings us to the end of the final webinar out of the 4 webinars which we have scheduled for you. So we are kickstarting our workshop series next week onwards. I hope you take part of it as well, to gain a clearer understanding of how F1 and E1 related questions, what type of F1 and E1 related questions can be thrown at you, and based on it, how to tackle each type of syllabus element. And I hope you'd stick to the plan. If you're yet to start, you still have time. You have 5 weeks. So invest on your preferred course and start working, because if you take steps to, attempt all 6 mock exams and conduct revision, you are essentially taking steps to significantly improve your theory knowledge and application, which will help you pass this exam without any issue. And when attempting each mock exam, I hope you'd stick to our answering, time management, and stress management techniques, practice them, so that you'd avoid all unnecessary issues and manage your time and structure your answers accurately at your real examination. So if you have any questions or concerns, get in touch with us. And I hope you'd start your preparations, and I hope to see you guys next week at our first workshop, which is focused on your F1 syllabus. Thank you very much for joining. I'll see you guys next week.